Uncle makes fun of me and my mother, so I took away his freedom and family. I will start with some infos about the victim of this story, or in better terms the asshole that got what he deserved in the end. My dad has 3 siblings, all older than him, and all equally shitty human beings. They bullied my dad for years, and made his childhood hell after their parents divorced due to him being slightly darker in skin tone than them. Grandma is white, Grandpa is brown-skinned. They were abusive racist fucks, and the worst of them was my older uncle, which he was a big bully and a snob that saw himself better than anyone else. All the bullying and the bad treatment fucked up my dad mentally so much that he became a raging alcoholic, which made my life a living hell as a result till I moved out 2 years ago, and caused me many traumas that I am still dealing with till this day. Anyways, in my country, the most important year in your life is your last high school year. It ends with a nationwide exam that determines if you even can go to university or not, and the success rate in this exam is fairly low. Basically, if you fail, it's either you drop out and move to low-paying jobs that will never amount to anything due to our country's bad and declining economic state, or you just keep repeating till you get your degree and go to a university that you don't even want to be in. But at least it's a safety net that can get you out of the country hopefully one day. Things did not go well for me due to family issues and me having undiagnosed ADHD at the time that was causing me a lot of academic problems at the time without me knowing the cause, which in turn gave me some sort of depression. Goes without saying that year ended up in me failing, and due to the importance of that exam, people saw it as a shame and kind of a big letdown. Needless to say, due to the long introduction, my family never had a relationship with my uncles, especially that they looked down on us due to my father being an alcoholic and us being dirt poor, which made them think less of us. Bear in mind they stole all my what dad inherited from his father, including a house and a piece of land that could have lifted us at least to a mid-class level. Long and behold, my big uncle that I last saw him when I was 7 came to visit us 3 days after the failing of my diploma. I already did not like the guy after all the stories that I heard about him, and his visit felt weird, like he had no business being around us at all, and somehow he came uninvited. My mom sat him down and started making the usual small talk, and then she called me saying that he wanted to say hi. I went in the conversation went as follows: Uncle, oh look how much you've grown up. It's been a while since I've seen you. You look just like your dad. The apple does not fall far from the tree after all, even in terms of being a successful person. You're following his footsteps. Letting after that the most loud and sarcastic evil laugh ever. Me, what you mean by this? Uncle, well, I heard you failed your high school. Guess this branch of the family is bound to be the loser side. Me, I guess you better shut your mouth and fuck off. No one want you here anyways. Uncle, guess your whore mom did not raise you well. What did I expect from hood rats like you? After that, things devolved into a shouting match and he left. After what happened, I was mad for a while. I couldn't forget the humiliation, and I decided that one day I will exact some revenge, and I started plotting. I did some digging till I discovered that all his business and assets are on his wife's name, and he basically owns nothing due to him committing tax fraud and ripping off his formal business associate out a lot of money before declaring bankruptcy and transferring the money and everything he owns to his wife to evade taxes. I came to contact with former employees that agreed to testify if this shit ever came to court due to him being a shitty human being overall and treating them like absolute trash while they worked for him. Move forward a few months, and trust me, Reddit, I made this account just to tell this story because what happened later was basically a gift from the gods that helped this story go from pro revenge to nuclear real quick. I couldn't even hope for a better outcome than this. He came to our house again to speak to my dad because he wanted to make a golden custom ring for his daughter in her 10th birthday. My dad is a jeweler. While he is in our house, he called out for me asking for a phone charger because his phone is dying, and at that moment I almost jumped from glee. It's my chance to get his phone and dig around. Maybe I can find any documents or emails that can be used later in the police case I was assembling against him. I told him I don't have a brick, but I can charge his phone with a cable from my laptop. Him not knowing any better like the boomer he is, he gave me the phone without batting an eye. His phone had a passcode and asking for it was too suspicious, so my plan to check his email went down the drain, but still I removed his SD card, put it in my laptop, and copied all his files, charged his phone, and gave it back. He eventually left and boom, locked my room and started to check all the files. I found nothing at all, but as soon as I was giving up I found a well-hidden file with few videos on it, and then I struck gold. A full-blown sex tape of him with another woman with his face fully available clear as daylight, and I was literally singing to myself from excitement. The revenge. For a few weeks, I made a Facebook account, made it look like it's his mistress account, made a bunch of other accounts that looked like friends and family commenting and interacting with her. After that, I added his wife and texted her saying that I am her husband's mistress. She did not believe me at first until I gave her too much personal infos that I knew about him for her to keep not believing me, told her that he lied and said they were divorced and promised me marriage. She requested to talk to me on the phone. Made a female friend help out by landing her voice. She was destroyed and I sent her the sex tape as proof. After that, she filed for divorce immediately and sued him for infidelity, which lost him custody and visitation rights for his girls. She took everything from him, even the house, and all his money and assets that they were on her name. Overnight, he became homeless with 0 pennies to his name, but that was not enough for me. I met up with his former business partner through a former employee who especially hated my uncle's guts and told him everything, and that the employees are willing to testify against him in court. Andy agreed to filing a lawsuit. The cherry on the top came when his ex-wife testified that he threatened her safety and her kids' safety if she did not let him put the assets on her name by force, and she literally pulled out phone recordings that she had of him being abusive, and him saying that he will kill them all if she did not let him basically use her as a tax evasion tool, and that she was scared to use these due to her fear for her children's safety. Due to their previous divorce case, the judge needed to hear no more. That man got hit by 15 years in jail so fast that he couldn't even comprehend what happened before he was on his way to the slammer. He will never see his family again. He will never have his fortune back. Just to rub some more insult to injury, I visited him a year ago, and I just said one sentence. This would have never happened if you just did not call me a loser, and left. The look on his face while he pieced everything together almost cured my depression. I never told my involvement in this story to a soul except my little sister, my female friend that helped me, and now you read it, but I had to make him know just to be able to finally sleep at night. On to story number 2. Try to assault me over petty shit? Enjoy prison and losing your family. Some backstory. This began before COVID kicked off and has only recently ended. So my uncle was over at my house for my birthday. Both of us are gun owners. I compete in competitions, and he's just the kind of guy to go to the range once a month. We had gone shooting the previous day and only brought out a few guns because we had some technical stuff to work on with a few guns, so it wasn't really a trip just to shoot. My uncle surprised me on the trip with some tannerite, which is an explosive. You set off by shooting it, so we ended up blowing some shit up while out there, but saving most of it for the next day. The next day we were packing up to actually go out shooting for real instead of spending the day tinkering, and my uncle asked me to bring one of my guns that has very expensive and hard to find ammo for him to shoot a bit. I told him I only had about 20 rounds for it, and I would like to save them for another day since I didn't know if I'd be able to find more. Here's where things start falling apart. My uncle is known to be a bit scummy and a hothead, so he snapped and tried guilting me into bringing the gun, telling me I owe him for the tannerite. I told him that I didn't realize I would have to pay him back for a gift, and if that was the case he could just have the remaining tannerite, then walked back to my room to start putting away my guns since I could tell this was pretty much going to ruin the day. This made him lose his absolute shit and start yelling and stomping about me being an ungrateful piece of shit and how he should kick my ass to teach me a lesson. At this point I tell him to get the fuck out of my house if he's going to threaten me, and he charges up the stairs at me. My uncle is a very large and fit man, so I grabbed the bear spray out of my shooting bag. The shooting range we use is in the middle of nowhere, and pointed it at him. My uncle has been maced before, so he quickly backed down and left, damaging my door on the way out. I just went about my day after this, packing up most of the guns but loading a couple into the car because I planned to still head to the range as not to let him ruin my fun. As I'm packing up the car, a couple police cars roll up, and they start shouting at me to get on the ground, and they put me in handcuffs. I pretty quickly found out they were there because my uncle called and said I pointed a weapon at him and mentioned my guns. I ended up having to show the police the footage from my security camera before they let me go. After that day, I fully cut ties with my uncle and just moved on with my life. But I came to find out that he was talking shit about me to family members, which is when I started plotting my revenge. I knew my uncle illegally stored his restricted guns, and I knew he spent quite a bit of money on them. But I also knew the cops probably wouldn't bother since I had no proof. I found out that my uncle had been shooting all the animals in his yard when he lives in the city from my grandma, who he brags and sends pictures to. One of the animals he shot is an endangered species, and I knew my grandma's phone had the picture on it, so I eventually snuck onto my grandma's phone and sent myself all the incriminating pictures, including ones of illegal guns, and reported it anonymously to the police. Today my uncle got arrested, Fish and Game seized his cars and his guns. His wife has pretty much left him since the police raid traumatized her and their kids, and all of his gun friends have gone off-grid, so he has no support. Court date and charges unknown, but from my research he's looking at a really long sentence. I feel absolutely no remorse because I've always said I don't think him having access to firearms was safe, since he can be violent, and he's overall a shit person. Subscribe and like for more videos.